picture this scenario for a second. Your alarm goes off, it's pitch dark outside, and you haven't even, pulled the blankets off yet.
Oh, I know this feeling.
Right. But your brain is already sprinting.
Yeah.
It is on a mental treadmill at top speed. You are thinking about the emails you didn't answer yesterday, what to pack for lunch, some weird comment a coworker made 3 days ago.
Yeah, and suddenly you're just completely exhausted.
Exactly. And you haven't even had breakfast yet. So if you are nodding your head right now, you are definitely going to want to pay close attention to what we are exploring today.
It's a universally recognizable feeling, honestly, that profound, heavy exhaustion before the day has even officially begun.
And usually when we look for solutions to that kind of mental overload, we turn to self-help gurus, right? Or wellness retreats or meditation apps.
But the source material we're bringing to you today comes from a highly unexpected place.
Yeah, we are doing a deep dive into a transcript from a show called the Easy English Podcast. The specific source is titled, How to Calm Your Mind in English.
Which, on the surface, just looks like a straightforward listening practice tool for intermediate language learners.
Right, you'd think you just tune in, hear the hosts, Emily and David, guide you through some vocabulary, maybe pass a quick interactive quiz, and move on with your day.
Because we often treat learning a new language like, downloading a software update into our brains. It feels mechanical, dry, and just entirely focused on memorization.
But the mission of our deep dive today is to show you how this specific transcript is doing something brilliantly subversive. I mean, yes, it teaches language skills.
But simultaneously, it delivers an absolute masterclass on managing daily anxiety.
Exactly. It uses the framework of learning a foreign language to teach you how to cultivate mental tranquility.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because you really can't manage your anxiety until you can accurately describe what is actually happening inside your head.
You definitely need a baseline. You have to establish what you are experiencing before you can even begin to address it. And what makes this transcript so effective is how it immediately establishes this highly relatable foundation of everyday stress, long before it ever attempts to offer a cure.
Yeah, it introduces us to David, one of the hosts, who is remarkably vulnerable about his own internal state.
David admits to having this incredibly busy mind. He is the guy who wakes up feeling tired before breakfast.
Right. He tells Emily that from the moment his eyes open, his brain is processing his job, his family, paying the bills, learning a language.
Even trying to figure out what to cook for dinner, his brain, as he so perfectly puts it, never takes a vacation.
And David's initial fear, which really mirrors how a lot of us feel when we are told to, calm down, is that he needs to achieve a state of absolute silence in his head.
He thinks calming the mind means having zero thoughts, which is a complete myth.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about the last time you sat down and actively tried to have zero thoughts. The second you tell yourself not to think, all you can ponder is whether you left the oven on, or if penguins have knees.
Or what that embarrassing thing you said in high school means about your character. It's a total trap.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the source is very quick to validate that experience. It explicitly clarifies that having zero thoughts is impossible.
The objective isn't to stop thinking altogether. The goal is to stop excessive worry. It is about turning down the overwhelming volume of the mind, not unplugging the machine entirely.
Right. And to help David reach that point, Emily teaches him, and you, the learner, some foundational vocabulary for self-expression.
She strips it down to these simple declarative phrases like, I feel stressed, or my mind is busy, or I need a break. Also positive ones like peaceful and grateful.
Thinking about those simple phrases, I want to offer an analogy here. Because learning to name your emotions with this kind of basic beginner-level language is a lot like diagnosing a glitch in your computer.
Oh, I like this. Let's explore that comparison.
So imagine your laptop is running incredibly hot. The fan is whirring at top speed, the screen keeps freezing, and the whole system basically feels like it is on the verge of crashing.
And if you don't know what is causing the issue, you just sit there in a panic.
Exactly. But the moment you open your computer's task manager, you can actually see the problem. You identify the specific program with 80 tabs open that is draining the battery.
Naming the error doesn't instantly fix the computer, but the panic stops.
Because you have given the glitch a name. Saying out loud, I need a break, or my mind is busy, acts as that error code. It allows your internal system to stop panicking and begin the reboot process.
What's fascinating here is the psychological mechanics of what you just described. When you articulate a simple, clear statement of distress, you create immediate distance between yourself and the overwhelming feeling.
You step outside of the storm.
Exactly. You observe it rather than just letting the rain pour down on you. You stop being the panic, and you become a person who is simply experiencing a busy mind. That distance is where you find control.
You sort of carve out a little buffer zone for yourself. So the source establishes the problem, the overworked mind, and provides the vocabulary to name it. Then, the transcript shifts its focus.
It moves from how we describe our feelings to the outside world, to how we talk to ourselves internally, the internal monologue.
Which is often a very harsh place to spend time.
Oh, it is brutal in there for a lot of us.
Yeah, and the transcript illustrates this through a story about a language learner named Anna. Her story really highlights the universal struggle we all face when we step outside our comfort zones to tackle any new challenge.
Right, because every time Anna made a mistake while practicing her English, she felt deeply embarrassed. Her internal monologue was just punishing.
She fell into the classic trap of comparison.
Her default thoughts were constantly evaluating her worth against others. She was telling herself things like, I'm not good enough, or they are all better than me.
She was locked in a cycle of passive judgment. But then her teacher hands her this pivotal piece of advice, just 5 simple words. Stop comparing. Start practicing.
Those 5 words represent a brilliant shift in perspective. The teacher is instructing Anna to move away from an unhelpful, passive state, worrying about everyone else.
And step into a state of active agency.
Yes, she is telling Anna to take control of what she can actually influence.
And Anna takes the advice to heart. She changes her behavior entirely. She stops looking around the classroom and she commits to studying for just 20 minutes every single day.
Which is such a manageable amount of time.
Right. And most importantly, she starts celebrating her small signs of progress. She stops waiting for the day she becomes perfectly fluent to finally feel good about herself.
The transcript really hammers home a golden rule here, which is that consistency is stronger than perfection.
Because perfection is a paralyzing illusion. It keeps you stuck because the finish line keeps moving.
Consistency, on the other hand, is an actionable reality. Showing up for 20 minutes a day is something you can actually measure and achieve.
But to get there, the source details how Anna had to actively reframe her negative thoughts. She had to catch the thought, I'm terrible, and consciously replace it with, I'm still learning.
She even had to reframe her mistakes. The source suggests treating mistakes not as embarrassments, but as wonderful signs that you were actually trying.
Okay, I have to push back on this a little bit, though. I mean, it sounds beautiful on paper. The text gives us this ultimate guiding principle. Speak to yourself the way you would speak to a good friend.
It is arguably the most common piece of advice in the self-help world.
Right. But why is it so incredibly difficult to execute in our daily lives? Think about it. If you, the listener, had a friend come up to you and confess they totally messed up a presentation at work, you would immediately comfort them.
Of course. You'd say, don't worry, you are learning. Tomorrow is a new day.
You would have endless compassion. But if you mess up that same presentation, your internal voice turns into a harsh, unforgiving critic. Why are we so mean to ourselves?
Well, we have a deep-seated instinct to protect ourselves from failure. And ironically, that harsh internal critic is a misguided defense mechanism.
How so?
We think that if we punish ourselves first, we will avoid being criticized by the outside world. We believe being hard on ourselves is the only way to improve.
Oh, wow. That makes a lot of sense.
But what the transcript is teaching through Anna's story is the power of cognitive reframing. Shifting your thoughts directly alters your emotional state.
Right. When you interrupt that harsh critic and gently substitute, I am still learning, you lower the temperature of your own stress.
Exactly. You reduce the friction of tackling a new challenge, whether that is learning a language or just navigating a tough day at work.
You basically have to act as the conscious editor of your own thoughts. You have to intercept the mean comment and rewrite it before it gets published in your brain.
I love that framing.
So we have covered these mental shifts, but the mind and the body are deeply connected. The text smoothly moves from these internal thoughts to the physical, actionable micro-habits that foster a peaceful state.
Because sometimes you simply cannot think your way out of a panic state.
No, the mind is spinning way too fast, and you need a physical intervention to break the loop.
And the source uses Emily to demonstrate this with a highly relatable story about a busy morning.
Listen to this sequence of events and see if it sounds familiar. Emily wakes up late. She grabs her phone and immediately sees 20 new messages demanding her attention.
A nightmare.
Right. Then she suddenly remembers she has an important meeting she isn't fully prepared for. And then, the cherry on top, she cannot find her keys.
This is a cascading series of micro-stressors piling up within minutes of waking.
And the panic builds. Emily notes that she started feeling intensely nervous, and she could actually feel her heart beating fast in her chest. Her body was preparing for an emergency.
But look at her intervention. She didn't frantically tear the house apart looking for her keys.
Nope. She didn't rapidly fire off replies to those 20 messages either. She stopped. She closed her eyes. She took 3 slow breaths, and she told herself out loud, "It's okay. I can do one thing at a time."
And the most profound detail in that entire story is what didn't happen.
What do you mean?
Nothing around her changed. The unread messages were still sitting on her phone. The meeting was still looming on her calendar. The keys were still lost somewhere in her apartment.
Wow. Only her thoughts changed. And she reports that within 1 minute, she felt calmer.
From that story, the transcript outlines 4 specific physical microhabits to help regulate daily stress. Number 1, taking slow breaths. Number 2, going outside for fresh air.
Number 3, drinking water. And number 4, putting your phone away for 10 minutes. Emily actually jokes in the audio, "The internet will survive without you."
It's a lighthearted joke, but it points to our very real modern compulsion to remain constantly connected, which just keeps our internal alarms blaring nonstop.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting to me. Look closely at those 4 habits. Breathing, getting fresh air, drinking a glass of water, and ignoring your phone for 10 minutes.
Very simple things.
Yes. In our modern culture, we constantly search for incredibly complex, expensive solutions to our anxiety. We want a special supplement, a high-tech wearable device that tracks our sleep scores, or a weekend retreat in the mountains.
Right, we want a quick, complicated fix.
But this source is gently suggesting that when we feel utterly overwhelmed by existential dread, we might just be dehydrated. We might literally just need a glass of water and a 10-minute break from looking at a glowing screen.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, these small behavioral shifts work because they bypass the spinning, overwhelmed mind entirely.
Because logic doesn't work when you're panicked, right?
Exactly. When you are highly anxious, logic goes out the window. Telling yourself to calm down rarely works. But taking a slow breath physically forces your body to slow its rhythm.
Drinking water changes your physical state.
Yes, stepping outside forces your eyes to adjust to natural light and different scenery, which alters your sensory input. You are soothing your mind by changing what your body is doing.
You are giving this system a manual reset. The transcript doesn't just leave these habits for daytime emergencies. It introduces an evening routine to successfully bookend your day.
It recommends turning off the phone, making a cup of tea, reading a book, and writing down 3 good things that happened that day.
It could be incredibly simple things, too. A nice lunch, noticing a beautiful sunset, or a friend making you laugh.
And David asks Emily if she actually follows this routine even on bad days.
Emily's response is so telling. She says she does it especially on bad days.
Which is so important. Forcing yourself to scan a terrible, no-good day for 3 small, positive moments interrupts the narrative that everything is awful.
It prevents a bad Tuesday from becoming a permanent stain on your memory of the week. So we have explored the physical habits, and we have discussed the psychological self-talk.
And then the transcript culminates by bringing these 2 elements together into a very specific interactive challenge for the learner.
They call it the mirror challenge.
This is the moment where all the theory we just discussed becomes a highly practical exercise.
Let me give you the exact rules of the challenge as outlined in the text. You have to look in the mirror every morning for 1 full week.
Every single morning.
Yep. And while maintaining eye contact with yourself, you have to say 3 specific sentences out loud. I am calm. I am improving every day. I can speak English with confidence.
The goal is to actively observe how your feelings shift over the course of that week through the deliberate practice of positive self-talk.
It is a profound exercise in vulnerability, honestly.
Uh-huh.
I want to ask you, the person listening to this right now, would you feel silly doing this?
Most people would.
Right. Imagine standing in your bathroom tomorrow morning, staring into your own eyes in the mirror and saying out loud, I am improving every day. I think most of us would cringe or laugh nervously or just look away.
It requires a tremendous amount of courage to look yourself in the eye and say something genuinely kind.
We're so much more comfortable looking in the mirror to pick apart our flaws, noticing a wrinkle or a bad hair day or just looking tired.
This raises an important question about how our reality is shaped by the things we hear ourselves say. Throughout the source, Emily frequently uses what we can call pattern breaks. She asks the listener to speak their answers out loud instead of just thinking them.
Why does speaking it out loud matter so much?
Well, speaking out loud doesn't just improve your pronunciation of English words, it takes an abstract, floating thought and brings it into physical reality.
Oh, that makes sense.
When you only think a positive thought, it is really easy to dismiss. But when you speak it out loud, especially while making eye contact with your own reflection, you force your brain to process the sound of your own voice delivering kindness.
You're literally hearing someone speak kindly to you.
Exactly. And doing that daily slowly reshapes how you view yourself.
You are forcing yourself to embody the words, rather than just understanding them on a textbook level.
It bridges the massive gap between knowing you should be nice to yourself and actually experiencing what that kindness feels like in the moment.
So what does this all mean? We started this deep dive looking at a simple transcript designed to help people learn intermediate English vocabulary.
But by examining the core lessons, we see that mastering a new skill, like learning a foreign language, and mastering your own mental tranquility require the exact same set of tools.
They draw from the exact same toolkit. Both journeys require immense patience. Both require profound self-compassion.
Both demand that you reframe your inevitable mistakes not as humiliating failures, but as necessary, wonderful data points of progress.
And above all, both rely on the fundamental truth that showing up consistently is far more powerful than waiting for perfection.
The daily habits that transform someone into a confident language learner, those small daily efforts, celebrating minor victories and using simple, clear expressions.
They are the identical habits that build resilience against the stress of daily life. Which leaves me with a final, somewhat provocative thought for you to chew on as you go about your day.
Let's hear it.
Throughout this discussion, we've seen how tackling a foreign language forces us to intentionally practice patience and use simple foundational phrasing like, I am calm, or I need a break.
Right.
It makes me wonder, maybe a lot of our daily anxiety actually stems from being too fluent in our native language.
Oh, wow. That is a fascinating angle to consider.
Think about it. In our mother tongue, we have tens of thousands of complex, nuanced words instantly available to us. And how do we use that massive vocabulary?
We use it to build incredibly elaborate, terrifying, multi-layered stories about our future.
Exactly. We use it to critique ourselves with devastating, poetic precision. We essentially weaponize our own fluency against ourselves.
That is so true.
What if we approached our daily life challenges with the gentle, stripped-down, compassionate vocabulary of a beginner language learner? What if, instead of weaving a complex 10-point web of catastrophic worry about a work project, we just allowed ourselves to pause, take a breath, and say, my mind is busy. I am still learning.
Stripping away the complexity to return to the absolute fundamentals of communication, especially when communicating with ourselves.
It is definitely something to think about the next time you find your brain refusing to take a vacation. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We highly encourage you to try the mirror challenge this week.
Embrace the awkwardness, look yourself in the eye, and see how your internal monologue shifts.
Until next time, take care of your mind and keep practicing.